Early morning in a small village, the sound of footsteps echoed on a dirt road. Thud, thud, thud. Dust rose with the rhythm of her steps. A little girl in a faded school uniform walked silently forward. One hand held an old book, the other a worn pair of sneakers. "It's so windy today. If I had a good pair of shoes, my feet wouldn't be so cold." Tidy's house was at the end of the village, next to rice fields and a small canal. That morning, the morning breeze carried the scent of fresh rice and the sound of roosters crowing from the houses along the roadside. But instead of warmth, she felt a hidden difference within her. Tidy looked down at her torn shoes and sighed softly. "It would be nice if I had new shoes like my friends." As she passed a house, she saw her friend Mina sitting in her father's car seat. Mina's clean white sneakers gleamed like they were new from the store. Mina waved with a smile. "Taidy, see you at school." Taidy forced a smile and waved back. See you, Mina." But inside, she felt something tugging at her chest. Why isn't our life like everyone else's? The sound of the car vanished with a puff of dust. Only the little girl remained, standing in the middle of the long road, and the silence was warm and sad. At dawn, a thin mist hung around the small wooden house. The sound of roosters crowing could be heard in the distance. Tidy's house was a small wooden shed that her mother used as both a home and a vegetable garden. Every morning, before sunrise, she helped her mother harvest the vegetables from the garden and carry them to the market. Tidy walked out to water the vegetables in the backyard, her small hands gripping a watering can that was too big for her body. Tidy, yawning slightly. "Mom, I'm done watering the vegetables. Are you going to sell them at the market today?" Mother, laughing softly. "Yes, dear. You're so hard-working. I'm so proud of you." The morning market was filled with chatter, laughter, and the aroma of food. Taidy diligently helped her mother arrange vegetables on the stalls. The golden sunlight reflected on her mother's face, who smiled lovingly at her child. Her mother always said in a warm voice, "My child, even though we're poor, we still have two working hands and feet to carry us every day. That's enough." Taidy, smiling but with sad eyes. "Yes, I understand, Mom." But the 8-year-old still didn't understand the word enough. Because in her eyes, a good life meant a life for those who have more. That afternoon, after school, Tidy sat under a large tree. The other children were running around and laughing, but she was quietly drawing. Her mind was filled with thoughts of what a better life this would be. Tidy said to herself, "If I had a nice pair of shoes, I wouldn't have to hide from the dust every morning." One day in class, the teacher stood smiling and said brightly, "Today, I want you all to draw the thing you want most in life." All the children were excited. They were laughing and drawing happily. Some drew dolls, some drew big houses, some drew paper frogs. But Tidy, silent and focused, gently drew new blue sneakers. A friend asked, "You just want shoes, Tidy?" Tidy said, That's enough, as long as it makes it easy to walk to school." When it was time to submit the assignment, the teacher approached Tidy. In her hand was a small, carefully drawn picture of a pair of blue shoes. Teacher, smiling faintly, "Why do you want these shoes so much, Tidy?" Tidy, answering slowly, "Because I want to walk to school without hurting my feet, and I want to have nice shoes like my friends." The teacher was silent for a moment, then gently stroked the girl's head. No words came out, but her eyes held both pity and understanding. The afternoon sunlight shone through the drawing paper, making the blue shoes appear as beautiful as if they were real. "You drew so beautifully, my dear." Taidy smiled faintly. "Thank you, teacher." The bell rang, and the children ran out of the room, but Taidy continued to stare at his own drawing, that faint smile concealing the many questions in the heart of an 8-year-old. One evening after school, Taidy walked home like she always did. Dust billowed with every step, and a cool breeze blew gently, painting the sky a pinkish orange. She looked down at the torn shoes in her hand, thinking about the new shoes of her dreams that were still so far away. Taidy talking to herself quietly. "When will I finally get a new pair of shoes?" On her way home, she saw an old man carrying firewood on his back. His bare feet were on sharp rocks, but he didn't even have a wrinkle of pain on his face. Taidy ran up to him and asked with concern, "Grandpa, aren't you cold? Why aren't you wearing shoes?" The old man smiled, revealed his few remaining teeth, and replied kindly, "I used to have shoes, but now they're too old to repair. So I used the money to buy rice instead, my grandson." The old man put down the firewood and looked at the little girl with warm eyes. He smiled widely again before continuing. "A broken shoe is just a broken item. But if you can still walk, that's considered good luck, isn't it, granddaughter?" Taidy pauses to think, smiles faintly. "Yes, Grandpa, I never thought of it that way." Those words were like a gentle breeze blowing into the little girl's heart. She didn't know why, but her chest felt an indescribable warmth. That night, Taidy sat beside a candle in her small room. She stared at her torn shoes for a long time, her small hands gently stroking them. The candlelight reflected on the worn soles as if telling her own story. Taidy, softly, "Maybe we have more than we think." Mother, loudly, "What do you say, dear?" Taidy, smiling, "Nothing. I just feel lucky today." Mother's laughter echoed softly in the darkness, and that night, the little girl encountered the word "let go" for the first time in her life. The next day, Taidy felt like the world had slowed down, but it had become more beautiful. While helping her mother sell vegetables, she smiled at every customer, her small hands earnestly handing them to her. She began to notice that even though her mother was tired, she still smiled whenever she saw her laugh. Mother, smile like that, my child. See? Happiness doesn't have to be expensive. Taidy, I understand, Mom. During lunchtime at school, her friends happily bought expensive snacks to enjoy, but Taidy only had sticky rice and grilled pork wrapped in banana leaves. She used to look at it with resentment, but now she smiles. Taidy, talking to herself quietly, "It may not be fancy, but Mom made it herself. It's the best in the world." She took a big bite of the grilled pork and laughed softly. One afternoon, the teacher announced a new activity. "Today, we're going to do a smile-sharing activity, kids." The kids all cheered. They prepared colorful paper and had to write on small pieces of paper what makes you most proud of yourself. Teacher, "You can write, kids. Write from your heart." Taidy, muttering, "Your heart? Then I know what to write." Some children drew a big house. Some wrote that they were proud to have come first. Some wrote, "I'm proud to have the most toys." But Taidy's paper contained a short, encouraging sentence. Taidy slowly writing with a smile. I'm proud to be able to keep walking even though my shoes are worn out. When it was time for the teacher to read each child's paper, the laughter gradually subsided until she reached one, the one with Tidy's name on it. The teacher read the text with a slight tremor. I'm proud of being able to walk even though my shoes are worn out. The room was silent. Teacher smiling, tears welling in her eyes. This child is teaching us all without even realizing it. The room fell silent. Some children secretly lightly rubbed their shoes. Everyone's expressions changed, and then, for the first time in their lives, they began to understand the word contentment. One friend, Taidy, you're so good. Taidy smiling widely. I just see the good in what I have. Years later, the little girl from that day has transformed into a young woman with a warm smile. She returns to her old school, this time as an art teacher. The sounds of children running around echo throughout the yard, like voices from the past returning to greet her. Smiles. Back to the same place, but our hearts are no longer the same. On the wooden shelves in the art room, a pair of repaired sneakers sits in a clear box. Beside the box is a small sign, handwritten by her. A pair of broken shoes, but a heart that never breaks. She looks at them with a gentle gaze, as if greeting an old friend who shared a journey. Tidy, softly, thank you for bringing us here. One day, a girl in class cried, I want to have the same things as my friends. I don't want to be so poor. Tidy smiled and sat down beside her. She always said the same thing. Don't think of yourself as inferior to anyone else, my child, because everyone has their own path. Some paths may be rough, but if we walk them with a sincere heart, it becomes the most beautiful path. The girl slowly raised her head and smiled through her tears. Children's laughter filled the classroom, and in one corner of the room, that old pair of shoes reflected the sunlight. It seemed to be smiling with pride, because finally, that little girl had learned that happiness doesn't come from how much we have, but from how much we appreciate what we have. Taidy chuckles. That worn-out shoe made my heart completely whole. Motto: be content with your own life without comparing it to anyone else, because sometimes what we have is the best thing for us.